This is 77-year-old Kenneth Darlington. He has dual citizenship in both the United States and Panama. Apparently a retired attorney, but an acting professor. Environmentalists have been blocking the road, this particular road, for weeks now, disrupting business, striking over a copper mine that renegotiated a contract. This video is graphic, so I am going to warn you, but I do want to speak to this afterwards. I think this video is extremely important because of all the things happening in the world today. And I'll explain why. Brace yourself. There, he is going to shoot, so if you need to turn away, this might be the time. She's calling them the cops. Okay, he shoots one. So wait, so what was she saying again? Gabe is doing some translation for me because obviously I don't know Spanish. So what was she saying, Gabe?
Just telling him, shoot. If you shoot one, you have to shoot us all. And apparently there was cops over there.
Wow.
So she was calling the cops.
All right, so she was calling the cops, and the cops came a little too late. Anyway, one of the protesters died right there on the spot. The other was transported to the hospital, but he was dead on arrival, from what I understand. Now, let me say this. I want to be emphatically clear. Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Normally, I don't start off the show with videos, but I decided to do this, and I got to be honest with you. I was going back and forth, didn't know what to talk about today. I mean, there's so much stuff in the news that, frankly, it gets overwhelming. This story stuck with me because I believe that this guy reached a breaking point. I believe that he reached a tipping point, and I believe that he snapped. And I think that we live in an era, and we live in society today, in a society and in a culture, not just in the United States, but globally, where we're going to see more of this. So I want to make this emphatically clear. I do not condone the violence that we just saw in that video with Kenneth Darlinger, but I understand. I know some people are going to be upset with this, but I got to tell you, I completely understand this. Totally disagree, all right, with what he did, but I understand. And I'm going to tell you, don't be too quick to judge. I'm going to go over things that can make a people snap. But also, I want to say this. When people don't follow the rules, when laws aren't obeyed, and the authorities don't do anything to make sure that people obey laws, then lawlessness ensues, and eventually you'll see vigilante crime. Eventually, you'll see people take matters into their own hand. And I got to tell you, I think that's what we're seeing here. And quite frankly, I think we're going to see a lot more of it. For those of us that live in the United States of America, I think this is exactly what the left wants. When we see these pro-Hamas protests, I think that's what they want. When we see the abuse that the J6 protesters took, that's exactly what they want. When you see the BLM riots and the Antifa riots, this is exactly what they want. What the left wants from you is a reaction so that they can go back and take away more of your civil liberties. However, I think that they may have forgotten that people that are on their own team might misbehave as well. We're living in dangerous times. I don't want to sit here and play games. Guys, I like joking around. I like being, just having fun with radio and podcasting. And it is fun to do this. But I do believe that we're in a fight for our very existence when it comes to the United States of America. And I hold no bones about it. I'm not going to be one of the hosts, the radio hosts or the podcasters that come to you every day and talk about polls and how far and how well Republicans are doing and, how we're going to save America. And then we look at the Tuesday's elections where we got our arses handed to us. We look at 2022 when we got our arses handed to us. We look at 2020, regardless of how I feel about that election. And I know many of you do. Essentially, we got our arses handed to us because we didn't read the tea leaves, or we didn't do what we needed to do, put in the groundwork in order to win. I do believe that COVID as well, those lockdowns, and not just here in the United States, but around the globe, we've seen suicide rates go up, right? We've seen mental, depression and anxiety, and even transgenderism. I mean, we've seen all of these things just absolutely skyrocket post-COVID, during and post-COVID. And I think people are walking on eggshells. I think people are walking on pins and needles. You guys remember that old Chris Rock comedy tour that he did, and it was, after OJ and Nicole Brown Simpson. After OJ, I believe that OJ murdered her. I believe that he got away with murder. That's my take on it. And I think a lot of people believe that, but they wanted a black man at the time to be able to get away with murder because it was the old adage. Hey, listen, whites have been killing us for a long time, so we got away with one. I literally recall hearing people say that, and blacks say that at the time. It's sick and disgusting, but that was the attitude at the time. However, Chris Rock came out and he did this comedy skit, and I believe it was years later. And he maybe we should have gotten the video. Maybe I should have gotten the video. But he talked about the OJ, murdering Nicole. And I think, if I recall correctly, and this is my bad, I should have made sure that we had the video. I think he pretty much admitted, if I recall correctly, that, yeah, he thought OJ did it or something to that effect. And he didn't condone it, but I understand. And he talked about, if Nicole was having this relationship with Ron Goldman on OJ's dime, in his place, all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, how could he say that? But also people started saying, well, I don't agree, but I understand. They in other words, what Chris Rock did was say what a lot of people felt. I don't agree, but I understand. This is exactly, when I see this video of this guy, Kenneth Darlington, I don't agree. I don't condone violence, but I completely understand. Guys, before I go on, this show is brought to you by MyPillow.com. All right, guys, I cannot do this show without their help, so please go to MyPillow.com. If you'll click on that radio podcast square at the top of the page, enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L. This is very important. I know we do these ads all the time, but seriously, without the ads, we don't have shows. It's as simple as that. And if you're going to buy any products anyway, would you please consider MyPillow.com and use my name as a promo code, C-A-R-L, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Right now, the Giza Dream Sheets are available for 50% off, or all My Pillow products, or actually, you can, not all My Pillow products, but there's a great number of My Pillow products that have great deals on them. Some are over 60% off. All you have to do is use my name. You can give them a call at 800-858-0263. All right, 800-858-0263. All of the products by My Pillow come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Guys, you're going to love them. I mean, I have the slippers, the pillows, mattress topper, dog beds, and we love them all. So I'm sure you will too. All right. So MyPillow.com, promo code Carl. Now I want to get onto this, get back to this. And there's a lot of stories and just headlines that I'll touch on as well. But I really wanted to touch on this because I think it's very important. And I saw this video, and obviously there's immediate outrage over it. But I got to tell you, when I saw it and once I read into it, I was like, man, I don't agree with his actions. But again, I understand. I don't condone violence. Nobody wants to see anybody die that way. I don't want to see anybody die that way so needlessly and so senselessly. All right. But then I sat there and I thought, man, once I read the whole story, I'm like, I can't be so quick to judge. I remember a time when my daughter was younger, and I don't know, and I hope the statute of limitations has run out. But anyway, she was probably, I don't know, I can't remember. She was a toddler. And she was being very defiant about something. And at the time, I was going through a custody battle with her. Just recently got married, and all of these things. I was going through all these false allegations towards me, where attorneys on the other side and all this were saying that I had done these things and that. It was totally insane. And I was going out of my way and fighting like crazy to fight for her and get any rights that I could. And a situation had happened. Actually, I do recall at the school where I had to call the Department of Children and Family Services to report an incident that had happened to my daughter. And then they ended up flipping the thing on me. It was chaotic. It was insane. And then in a moment of weakness, I can't remember what happened. She did something and I just kind of flipped and I snapped and I couldn't believe it because I had never done that. And I was just like sitting there like, what are you doing? And I shook her and I didn't shake her where her brain, you know what I mean? But it was just one of those, what are you doing? And I mean, almost instantaneously like, I'm sorry. It was like, I would have, that's not who I am. That's not what I would have done. And I just snapped. And when people snap, what happens is not only do you surprise the victim, but the perpetrator themselves are surprised, are shocked. And that's where I was. I was like, oh, crap. What am I doing here? I think this guy snapped. And then you're sitting there like, Carl, wait a minute. He was just clearing off the road right afterwards. No. I'm telling you, when you snap, when you have to act instantaneously, that whatever it is in you kicks in. It kicks in and then it's gone like that. It's almost like you're in a different mind and you slip back into your normal mind. And then you're sitting there back in the normal mind trying to process what you just did in the crazy mind that just came out of nowhere. Well, Carl, he walked up to the spot. Yeah, he walked up to the spot. Gabe and I were talking before the podcast. So Gabe made a great point though. I mean, when he walked up to the people, I don't think he wanted to shoot them. He anticipated he might, because I don't think you can just pull a gun. Once you pull your gun out on somebody, I think you're ready to use it typically. Okay, so, but initially he was like, hey, move this stuff out of the road, get it out of the way, so on, etc. And then when they challenged him, he was going to put up or shut up. And at that point, I think it was just like, boom. And then, a snap mind, and he goes back into a normal mind. He's in Panama, dual citizen, all right? If that had happened here, you would hear the left talking about taking your guns, right? That's what they do. That's what they did after the Maine mass shooting. That's what they did with the Tennessee mass shooter that killed those children and the 3 adults at the Christian school. And they tried to keep the memo or the manifesto from us, and it was leaked. Someone leaked some of it to Steven Crowder, thank God. But let me just give you a little bit of background on this stuff, and I'm going to tell you why I think Americans can be rich, and I hope you don't. But I do want the reason why I thought this was so important, because I think this is in all of us. All of us we're all human beings. We all have an ability to snap. I just want you to be alert. I want you to be aware, not just of your surroundings, because I want you to be safe, but I want you to also be aware of what's capable inside of you. And I think that's very important, because that's the only way that you can keep control. Whether you're attacked or whether somebody does something towards you in order to get a rise out of you, you have to be very careful. And I'm afraid that situations like this are going to happen more and more. So let me just give you a little bit of background. Hat tip the Blaze. So the Western environmentalists, we've seen these environmentalists in the West that have gone absolutely crazy. These green nut jobs, right? We want a cleaner planet and all this kind of stuff. EVs over fossil fuels. Fossil fuels suck, and that's why this is why the left wing argument that EVs are great for the planet are just insane. And honestly, no one should take these little greenies, these people seriously. You should not. I'm sorry. These are a bunch of brainwashed, useful idiots for communism. All right, so green is the new red. That's all green is. Green is communism. That's all it is. It is a total desire of government takeover, right? Or that's what it is ultimately. All right, so you've seen them. The Blaze writes about it. You've seen people glue themselves to airports. You see people vandalize. Priceless works of art. There was a news story the other day, I can't recall where, but literally these people took a hammer to the casing of just a very expensive piece of art to try and destroy it and make their point. Just absolutely insane, ruining people's celebrations, so on, etc. They go on roadblocks like you saw here. And there was one recently in California as well, where I think where I do recall some of the police officers came in, they drove into the front, cleared out all their stuff, threw the people out the way, and I'm so glad they did that. And here's the problem again: when people start disobeying laws and there's no one there to exact the punishment, there's no authorities there to say, hey, wait a minute, you have to abide by these laws. There isn't going to be any lawlessness here. Then people go crazy. Eventually people are going to snap. Eventually people are going to take things into their own hands. And quite frankly, police were in that area. You heard Gabe say, in translating, the lady was, basically saying she's going to call the police over. Well, if the police were there, they should have kicked them off the road. If they had kicked them off the road, these men would be alive. And again, I'm not condoning what this man did, but I understand. So these people hardly face, little consequences, according to the Blaze. Even when emergency vehicles need to get by, they'll still block the roads. Emergency vehicles need to get by. I've seen videos where people are coming out and these protesters are standing in the middle of the highways or sitting in the middle of highways and streets. And it's only, maybe like a two-way road and there's a divider in the middle of the road on some occasion. And they still won't get out of the way. And people are coming up to them begging, dude, I have to get to work. I'm going to lose my job. I need to be able to feed my family, my kids, so on, etc. And they just sit there quietly. Just no care in the world. Totally inconsiderate and disgusting people. So this guy, 77-year-old Kenneth Darlington, for whatever reason, had enough. That incident, I guess the blockades, it says here, 77-year-old Panamanian born U.S. citizen got stuck behind a blockade. The blockade was roughly 50 miles west of Panama City. After a failed attempt to clear the barricade, that's when you saw him gun down the people there. Minera Panama SA, a subsidiary of Canadian mining company First Quantum Minerals, as it's called, recently secured a contract from the Panamanian government to operate a copper mine in the jungle west of Panama City at a time when copper needed for the manufacture of electric vehicles is in high demand. This according to the Times. So you have Panama City, you have this company there, or Panama, the Panamanian government, working with the Canadian government to extract copper for electric vehicles. Why do they need to extract copper for electric vehicles? Because green nut job protesters are saying fossil fuels are bad. So you have these governments moving towards EVs and stripping minerals. I don't condone it, but I understand. I'm sorry. So this powerful construction union, various teachers unions have worked in recent weeks to paralyze the country with roadblocks in hopes of pressuring the government into reversing what's called Law 406, breaking that contract, even though the mining company is poised to create thousands of jobs and inject $375 million annually into the local economy. Now, I have no problem with people saying we don't want this company to move here, but you have to be able to go through political means. I don't know what the politics are like in Panama. I understand that other countries are not like the United States of America. Oh, and by the way, this guy, Kenneth Darlington, based upon the laws in Panama, even though he shot these guys, killed them, he could get out because of his age. So he may be able to not completely walk free, but apparently because of his age, he is eligible to do house arrest. So we'll have to see what comes of this in the future here. But they say their illegal roadblocks have reportedly caused more than $80 million in daily losses to local businesses, prevented farmers from bringing food to market. So you have store shelves that are going bare because of these greenies. They shut down schools nationwide as a result of their road blockages, and it all but locked the entire country down. But this one particular area where this guy Kenneth Darlington apparently was traveling to, they had been losing, again, $80 million every day in business. And you're talking about small businesses or what have you. People are going to get fed up. That isn't the way you handle it, but people are going to get fed up. 9 reasons why people snap, according to a neurobiologist. This inside of Business Insider. I'll just go through these real quick. I won't belabor the points here, but life or death situation. This one makes sense biologically. The author says if your life is endangered, you're probably going to get react rashly, possibly in anger, in insult. Believe it or not, sometimes men used to duel to the death over insults. And this guy has written a whole book about this thing, but he just gives a few snippets here. He says verbal insults are the human equivalent of head-butting, a means of challenge and establishing dominance. Animals fight, we sling mean words. Both can provoke an angry response. Family is another event or reason why people may snap sometimes. And honestly, I don't even think this is completely scientific. I think there can be outside factors, just like myself, my daughter at the time, all of these things that were happening while I was in the middle of a custody battle. And at that very moment, I had never done anything like that towards my daughter. But in that moment, I just snapped. And again, thank God, I immediately caught myself. And it was almost like an outer body experience. So outside, pressures or whatever else, I'm sure can contribute to this. Actually, I know that to be true, and they even mention that in this column. But again, I won't go into great detail and specificity. I'll be on Officer Tatum tonight, so I'll get into a little more detail tonight. An environment can. Humans are so territorial. The author writes that in some states it's even legal to shoot someone who breaks into your home. I'm all for someone being shot who breaks into your home personally. And he says, quote, most animals will protect their own environment, their territory, and home. The reason are clear. Home and territory provide the basic necessity for survival, close quote. I figure if somebody's breaking into your home, they're not coming in to say hello. All right, number 5, mate. People can become enraged both when they are trying to win and trying to keep a mate. It says here, violence between males and females frequently occurs within intimate sexual relationships. This is the trigger for violence in domestic disputes, right? Infidelity and attacks by jealous lover. Social order is another one. Road rage has several triggers, one of which is order in society. This guy is a lawyer. This guy, Kenneth Darlington, 77-year-old perpetrator here. He's a retired lawyer. He's a professor. So this is a guy that wants order in society. There's a little bit of history to him. That's apparently he got in trouble back in 2004, 5, or 6 because apparently he had an AK and an M16 in Panama, which was illegal, but he was able to beat the case because they were part of his collection, and that's what he argued, or his attorneys argued, and he was able to beat the case. And apparently was also associated with an accountant in Panama that was apparently a thief. So this guy may have a colorful background. I don't know, but I'm just talking about in that particular moment. I don't condone it, but I understand. Resources is another reason. If you're being robbed like Fields was in Barcelona, your instinct may be to fight back. This is because you're trying to protect your resources just as animals do in the wild with food. He says in human society, money and other forms of valuable property are equivalent to food because these valuables can be transformed into food, housing, and territory. 8, he says humans are they're tribal. We're tribal, basically. We're social creatures. So if we feel that our tribe, our group is threatened, we can react in rage. But again, I think the last one is stopped. Animals will struggle violently to escape restraint, even to the extent of gnawing off their paw if caught in a trap. And remember that movie 127 Hours where that guy literally he was trapped under a rock and he ended up sawing off his arm in order to get free. Ugh. I went and saw that movie. That was a real life story. The movie was, oh my God. It was intense, but afterwards I was like, why did I spend money on that? But anyway, people can snap, man. And I just, let me just read you some headlines. I'm not going to stay long on this thing, but let me read you some headlines. All right. Dramatic video shows LA homeowner opening fire, scaring off 2 intruders. All right. Another headline. 4 Los Angeles sheriff's officials found dead in apparent suicide, literally in different areas within hours of each other. 4 Los Angeles County sheriffs. I think in part they're not being allowed to do their job in LA. And, the things that cops have to see on a daily basis, the lack of respect for police officers. And listen, we know not all police officers are good, but I do believe that the vast majority of them are. And they want to go in and they want to put in an honest day's work, and they want to get back home safe to their families. But they see the craziest crap every single day, day in and day out. These guys have to deal with PTSD almost on a daily basis. We don't have to deal with that. And so when we see something on camera, they may be snapping, they may be hitting, you know what I'm saying? And we're like, oh my God, how could they do such a thing? Well, you've never been in that situation. All right. That's why I give them just a little bit. I want to hear all the evidence, right? I want to hear all the evidence before I condemn a police officer. But 4 officers commit suicide. Vigilante gunman on the loose after firing a would-be mugger inside New York City subway station. Suspect known to police. You have the guy, Paul Kessler, 69-year-old Jewish man that was hit in the mouth with a megaphone, fell back, hit his skull, ended up dying of injuries by a pro-Hamas protester. And that's right, I'm intentionally saying pro-Hamas protester. People are reaching a breaking point. I don't even know exactly what to say, except to say just to be on guard, just to be vigilant. Not in case something could happen to you. Never believe that things can't happen to you. Bad things. This former senator in Arizona, I forget her name, but she was jogging in Omaha. She had been raped while she was in the Air Force, sexually assaulted. She was on a jog. She was getting ready to give a speech in Omaha either that day or the next day. So she was in Omaha taking a jog, and there she was, sexually assaulted. A homeless guy bear hugs her, pulls her into the bushes. It didn't sound as if he got all the way there, but he did. He was able to fondle her and all this kind of stuff. Apparently my God. And he was able to fondle her and all that stuff. So apparently they caught the guy. And so now he is in custody, some homeless guy in the area. But just be aware, we live in dangerous times. I think people are going to snap. Frankly, I think if you live in the United States of America, it's exactly what the left wants. They want to see people snapping. I think they're running a psyops on us. I'm not trying to be crazy or conspiratorial. I just simply believe it. Just based on the things that we've seen in the last couple of years that I would have never, ever, ever, ever imagined. Guys, I won't belabor this podcast. I wanted to share that with you. I don't even know. Gabe, I'll be honest with you. I don't even know if I did any. I try to come to these podcasts. I want to make a point. I want to save America. I want to make sure you're safe. I want to make sure your family is doing well. And I just see this situation and I'm like, man, people are jumping on this guy all over social media. And I'm not saying that anybody that straight up murders people, I mean, in cold blood, I'm not saying that he deserves sympathy. Obviously, there's times where you've seen me where I'm like, shoot that guy. But for some reason, I saw this and I'm just like, what was happening? Oh, environmentalists. Oh, they were doing this. Oh, 3 weeks. Oh, $80 million being lost every day by businesses and people that got to feed their families and are probably getting fed up with this, even though I understand their fight. They don't want all the mining there, and I get all that. They handled it the wrong way and somebody snapped. Be safe out there, guys. Be safe out there, please. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Stay safe, all right? You guys have a great weekend. Have a great Veterans Day weekend. All of you vets that have served, I so appreciate you. I don't take our freedoms lightly. I really don't. I'm just a peon trying to speak truth to power and trying to make sure that people stay in love or fall in love with freedom. But I understand that none of that is possible without your sacrifice. So I do appreciate all of you vets that might be tuning in. I really hope that you have a celebratory weekend where you could have a good time and know that your sacrifice has meant something to people like myself and so many other Americans. I'm so thankful for what you've done. And many of you continue to do. I hate to see where the military has gone. That isn't your fault. You went there to serve. and to keep these United States of America free. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. All right, guys, until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.